Success is not something to be obtained. It's a byproduct of actually living within your purpose. And this is the main reason why a lot of successful people will have external achievements and still feel empty inside, still feel like failures. And I'm saying this because I went through this exact thing when I hit my first 20K month, when I started my business, and I was so pressed to achieve the external success. I wanted the 20K month. I wanted to be able to have a business. I wanted to be able to do all of these things, that was where my mind was all the time. And it allowed me to take the actions and the steps to get there and to achieve it. But once I got it, it didn't bring me any sort of fulfillment. Honestly, it felt pretty normal. I was proud of myself, but internally, I knew that there was more for me, right? And you can get caught in that cycle of just chasing the next high, because when success is your measure and that success is external, you're never, ever going to be satisfied. And especially if you're a high performer or you're an ambitious person, you know that there's always another mountain to climb. There's always another peak to go ahead and go after. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but the issue comes into play once we start attaching our identity, our self-worth to that, right? And the dangerous thing is that when you put so much focus on that, what happens is you start to lose sight of the purpose. You start to lose sight of the why and the whole reasoning behind what you're doing in the first place. And I want to create a distinction between purpose and passion, because just because you're passionate about something does not necessarily mean that it's your purpose. And just because you know what your purpose is does not necessarily mean that you're going to be passionate about it 100% of the time. But if you know what your purpose is, then you'll be able to move in accordance with that purpose. And as a byproduct, the success and everything else will start to flow naturally, right? And one of the biggest mistakes that I did was sidetracking myself to just focus on the externals, focus on, making the money, having the business, having the location freedom, whatever it is, having all of the tangibles, and not stepping away from that and detaching from that, knowing that that was already going to be a result of me just operating from my purpose. And even though I was able to do a lot of things and I was able to help a lot of people and be of service to a lot of people, that wasn't where my mind was, and that wasn't where my heart was. My heart and my mind were still so focused on that outcome, still so focused on making that money. And I kind of lost sight of my purpose a little bit. And it caused me to not fully be my authentic self, for one, but also not take the necessary actions to put myself out there and to say the things and to give the messages that I know would resonate with somebody else to allow them to make the change that they needed to make. And that's honestly a selfish thing to do. So I think this is a trap that a lot of people, high performers, entrepreneurs, freelance, whatever, if you're going towards success, you can get caught up in, right? It's by being so focused on the external success and the achievement of that, rather than just staying rooted within your purpose, within your God-given purpose, and knowing that everything else is going to be a byproduct of that. Because that's going to happen. That's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. The journey that we're on, the way that we're moving, all these things are going to be inevitable. But you're going to lose yourself if you do not understand what your purpose is and how to anchor yourself in that. For me, I know that my purpose is I love to teach. I love to be able to give value and be able to have conversations that inspire intellectual stimulation to the point where somebody can challenge their own perspective, right? And if I can say something that resonates with somebody, that allows them to have a fundamental change in the way that they see themselves and the way that they show up and the way that they serve others, that is truly what I love to do, right? I love it. And I know this because I always love to pour into other people's development. I always want to make sure that I can be of service in fast tracking somebody else in their journey, right? Being able to be that resource and being able to be that person that can help somebody along their path and along their journey in the best way possible. And for me, that's what service looks like for me, right? Being able to do that, being able to inspire other people to see how possible it is for them. Because I think a big thing is a lot of people today, even with all of the resources that are available to us with social media, with technology, with AI, with all of these other things, it's like, why are people not fully stepping into what it is that they know they're capable of? It's because they don't believe it. It's because of this right here. So I always love to have conversations with people to be able to expand their perspective and get them to challenge their own limiting beliefs so that way they can see what's actually possible for them. And in my pursuit of entrepreneurship within my video agency, right, I lost that sense of purpose for the focus on achieving a certain monthly revenue within the company, within being able to be out here in beautiful Medellin whenever I want to, to do all of these things, which are beautiful. I'm not saying there's an issue or there's a problem with it, but those things are just byproducts. That should not be the actual destination. That should not be the thing that we strive for. We know that they're things that we want, and we know that they're things that we're ultimately and inevitably gonna get, but they're not things that we should strive for with so much effort and vigor that we forget the true reason as to why we're even doing it in the first place. If you can't sit down and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Who is this going to help? Who is this going to serve? Is this going to change somebody's life for the better? Then really, you're on a selfish endeavor. And I say this because this was me. Literally, all of 2024, all of 2025, I was operating from a very selfish endeavor. And I guarantee you, had I just aligned with my purpose and focused on that, I would have probably achieved the things that I achieved in a much quicker time frame. Or I probably would have achieved even more. And I think one of the biggest issues that happens when this starts to take place is that we think that it's that byproduct that's going to make us feel whole, right? Or we think that it's that byproduct, that success, that this, that's going to give us the confirmation that we're worthy, we did it, we're on the right track. But the truth of the matter is that it's literally something that can be given and taken away. So if you place so much emphasis on that, you're going to truly forget internally what got you there in the first place. So we have to get away from putting so much emphasis on our goals, putting so much emphasis on the amount of money we want to make, the relationships that we want to have, all these other things that we deem as success, and really ask ourselves, okay, what is the purpose of what we're doing? Why are we doing this, right? Who are we here to serve? Who are we here to impact? Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And I even had to have this conversation with myself when it came to making content for YouTube, because I always knew that I had a story to tell. I always knew that I had insight to give. I always knew that there was something that I wanted to talk about. But when I first started this channel, I saw that, okay, I have a particular ICP, right? Freelancers that want to become true entrepreneurs, or even early entrepreneurs in their first, phase of business. And from that, I saw that as the key to get to a much higher level of success that I've been envisioning for myself. And while, yes, that's the case, I'm not here to dismiss any of that. The fact of the matter is, what this is truly for is to be of service, is to show somebody that you can be in the same position that I was in a year ago and completely change your life. And you're actually capable of doing it. It's actually possible for you. It's not something that you have to remove from yourself because you think that it's not possible. We just got to rework this, right? And I think the biggest moments when I've seen growth in my business has been when I've come from a place of service. It's been when I've come from a place of listening to my prospect or listening to my client and thinking, how can I be of service and how can I solve their problem? That's when I've seen the biggest months of growth within my business.
Right.
And once you start to hit a certain level and you want to hit that next level, it's easy to just put that next level as the North Star. But that next level can't be the North Star because you might even be blinding yourself to something bigger if you were to just focus on your purpose. And I know a lot of people, that's like a buzzword nowadays, purpose. Oh, follow your purpose, stay on your purpose, do this, do that. But no, seriously, sit down and figure out what that is. Like, seriously, sit down and figure out what that is. I'm still constantly understanding what that is and how that looks like to live in alignment with my purpose, right? You have certain gifts, certain talents, certain strengths that somebody else needs to come across in order for their life to improve. And I have an idea and a general sense of what that is, but I'm still in the process of cultivating that, developing that, and understanding what it looks like to really live in alignment with that on a day-to-day basis. And from that is where everything else stems and everything else flows. I even told my boy Noel yesterday, I said, it's crazy because when I was in reflection, I came to a really, really amazing conclusion, is that everything that you experience is literally just a byproduct of your internal state. So whether it's the money, the relationships, the business deals, the travel, the success, whatever it is, all of that is literally just a byproduct. None of that is actually yours. It's just a byproduct of your internal state affecting how you perceive your own reality and how you move in your own reality, and then therefore things just start to fall in line. But none of that is actually yours. And whether you experience it for a moment or you experience it for a lifetime, it is simply just a byproduct. So when you put so much emphasis on the byproduct of your own internal state, rather than putting it on your own internal state and trying to align it with what your purpose is for what you're doing, that's when you can get messed up. Because now you're putting your own worth, right? You're putting your own mission, your own trajectory, and your own North Star on things that, one, are fleeting, two, can be taken away, and three, are simply byproducts. Like, it's out of your control. They're simply just byproducts. It's not like there's something that is actually yours that you possess. The only thing that you possess is truly your own thoughts, actions, energy, alignment, how you want to stay in line with what your purpose is, what your calling is. So this is one of the main reasons why you can see people make extraordinary amounts of money, make stupid amounts of money, and yet still they feel lost. You might have seen those Instagram trends where people are like, I've made over $500,000 a month. I can literally buy any car I want, and I feel lost, right? And it's because the pursuit and the North Star was the byproduct, not the purpose, not the alignment, not the calling, and not recognizing how does that impact those around me? Where's the service within that, right? That is what we have to really get down to. And I say that because, especially if you're someone who's in the same position as me, you're at the point where you're making 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month. You're in that like 10 to 30K range. Things are comfortable. You've really hit that first taste of like success in your eyes. This is where it can get really dangerous, because you have a choice to either focus on your alignment within your purpose and making sure that you're moving from a place of service and having that discernment to know what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. Or you can make your North Star that 100K a month, that $250,000 a month, that $500,000 a month, that $1 million a month, and lose yourself in that process, because now that is your North Star as opposed to your purpose or your calling, which is going to bring that byproduct anyway. So, especially if you're in that position that I'm in right now, and I had to really reflect and kind of catch myself and check myself, because I'm like, whoa, okay, let me step back, let me kind of reassess and figure things out. When you're in that period, that is one of the most important periods for you to really hone in on, how do I want to serve? Who do I want to serve? What does service look like? What do I truly feel joy in my heart when I serve someone in a particular way? Like I said, for me, it's teaching. For me, it's being able to get someone to recognize their own capacity and their own capabilities within themselves, and then seeing them flourish beyond that, right? It's one of the reasons why I brought a mentee onto our team. I want to be able to build him up so that way now he has opportunities that he wouldn't have otherwise had. And it's interesting because when you do stuff like that, you'll learn so much more about yourself. Because initially, my idea for having this mentee opportunity was for me to have somebody that I could turn into another me. So that way they could run the company, right? And I can just completely be, the CEO, exit, whatever it is. But I have someone who I built up to be Caleb 2.0. And ironically enough, his name is actually Caleb 2. But it's funny because as this opportunity started to unfold and as we started to work together, what I began to realize was this opportunity isn't about me or my company. Not at all. Because the things that he wants to do in his career and the places that he wants to go are not 100% aligned with what I saw for this role, right? I initially saw this role as like, okay, let me go ahead and make a second version of myself so that way now I can kind of like fully step away. But over time, understanding what he truly wants to go after, his goals, his passions, right? Where he wants to be, I said, I have to get out of my own wants and do everything that I can to put him in that position for him to succeed in what he wants. And I have to find the intersection between my business and his goals. I have to find that intersection so that way during this mentor program, there's a mutual beneficial, there's a mutual benefit for both of us. But at the end of the day, it would not be right for me as a mentor to stifle what it is that he wants to do for the sake of trying to have my business grow in a particular way. So I now have that mind frame of, okay, I'm going to adapt my approach to make sure that he can do whatever it is he wants to do, right? Whether that is working with the company full-time, forever, or not, right? And most of what he's been telling me is not that to be his end goal, right? So I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that I can put him in that position to do exactly what he wants to do and give opportunities as they come and put him in those positions, make sure that he's meeting people, make sure that he's learning skills on the job, make sure that he's building up his own portfolio. So that way he can do exactly what he wants to do. And that is the level of service that we have to have with these things, right? That is the place that we have to come from, because in me doing that, I already know that the byproduct of me having a clone of myself that's going to be able to run the company so I can completely exit at one point is already going to happen. It's inevitable. I don't have to think about that. But I have to make sure that I'm in alignment with my purpose of mentorship, of building people up, of teaching people, of being able to get others to see the capacity and capabilities within themselves and also actualize it as they come in contact with me, whether it's through a business relationship, through the content. It might be you watching this video right now, whatever it is. I have to make sure that everything that I do is in alignment with that. And I have to stay on that path and stay on that track, because that's already going to give me the byproducts of everything that I'm looking for. But it starts with the service and the purpose, first and foremost. So that's really one of the solutions to why successful people still feel like shit. Why successful people still feel like failures, even though they've hit numbers that most people will probably never even conceptualize in their lifetime. But internally, they still feel like a failure. They still feel like they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. So it really comes down to aligning things with purpose and aligning things with the trajectory of service as opposed to the external byproducts that come as a result. So if you felt like you've been stuck, if you felt like you might have seen some success, but now you feel kind of stuck internally, you feel like, oh man, I have to hit that next level, and then that's when I'll be okay. Or if I hit that next level, then that's when I'll be okay. Just pause. Pause for a second, sit down, and ask yourself, how do I want to serve people? What are the unique gifts, talents that I have that have been bestowed upon me that I can use to serve others? And then use that as your North Star, because that is what's going to get you to that next level.